Jesus begins his mission. Jesus gave his special disciples, his apostles, the authority to heal and cast out evil spirits. He sent them out to teach the people of Israel that the kingdom of heaven was near. The kingdom of heaven is God's rule in the hearts of mankind. The disciples were to heal the sick, raise the dead, drive out demons, and take no money from those they helped. He warned them that they would be hated and persecuted. However, they were not to fear anyone who could kill them. He promised that whoever acknowledged him to others, he would acknowledge before God, his Father in heaven. Jesus sent his apostles out 2 by 2, telling them that if the people did not welcome them, they were to shake the dust off their feet as they left the town. There was urgency in their work, and they were valuable to God. Jesus also continued to teach, often using parables, stories that illustrated a lesson that might otherwise be understood. For example, he told the story of a farmer that sowed seed. Some of the seed grew well, some of it grew for a short time and died, and some never sprouted, depending on the soil in which it landed. He explained to his disciples that the seed sown was the message from God to people, which they were sharing, and the soil represented the hearts of those who heard that message. Some people hear, understand, and accept the message of God's kingdom. Others accept it for a while, and some never accept it, but deny God. He taught that the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. The one who finds it sells all he has to buy that field so that the treasure can be his. The kingdom of heaven is worth all that one has. He told many parables to help the people understand his mission. Jesus also healed the sick and drove out evil spirits. Jesus went through Samaria on his way to Galilee one day, and he sat down by Jacob's well on the way. A Samaritan woman came out to draw water, and Jesus asked her for a drink. She was surprised that a Jew would ask a Samaritan woman for a drink, so she asked him about it. He answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." After they talked for a while, she began to realize who he was. She said, "I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." Jesus then revealed to her that he was the Messiah. She went back into town to tell the people that she had met the Messiah. Many Samaritans believed in him because of her testimony. Some have called her the first missionary. Jesus also did many miracles as evidence that he was from God. When he was in Capernaum, there were some men who could not get to the door of the house where he was because of the crowd of people there to see him. These men wanted to get their paralyzed friend into the house for Jesus to heal him, so they climbed on the roof and made an opening to let him down through the roof into the house. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Some of the Jewish teachers there said that no one can forgive sins except God. Jesus immediately said to the man, "Take up your mat and walk," and the man did so. Everyone was amazed, and they praised God, saying, "We've never seen anything like this." Jesus was showing them that if he could make the paralyzed man walk, he could also forgive his sin. One day, Jesus was teaching a large group of people and healing many who were sick until late in the day. The disciples came to Jesus and said, "We need to send the people away so they can go get something to eat." Jesus had the disciples to look around to see if anyone had brought food, and they found a boy with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. They brought it to Jesus, who had everyone sit on the grass. He distributed the food to his disciples, who fed 5,000 men in addition to the women and children, with 12 baskets of food left over. Jesus and his disciples had been together all day. When evening came, he encouraged them to get in the boat and row across the lake to Capernaum while he dismissed the crowd. He had learned of the death of his cousin John the Baptist, and he wanted time alone in prayer with his Father. A little later it was dark, a strong wind was blowing, and the waters were becoming rough. The disciples became fearful, and Jesus could see that they were having difficulty with the boat. He went to them, walking on the water. They saw him and were frightened, thinking him to be a ghost. Jesus told them not to be afraid. It was him. Peter wanted to meet him on the water, and Jesus invited him to do so. Peter stepped out of the boat and walked toward Jesus, but became afraid when the wind was strong. He started to sink, and Jesus reached out his hand to save him. All of the disciples in the boat worshiped Jesus, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." After a few days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John up on a mountain with him. There, Jesus was transfigured, changed in appearance before them. His face was shining like the sun, and his clothes became as white as snow. Moses, who delivered the 10 Commandments and was buried by God, and Elijah, the prophet who did not see death but was carried away in a fiery chariot, appeared and began talking with Jesus. Peter, wanting to do something significant, suggested that they build 3 shelters, one for Jesus, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. God interrupted him as a voice from the cloud. "This is my Son whom I love. Listen to him." Peter, James, and John were frightened and fell to the ground, but Jesus told them not to be afraid. He also instructed them not to tell anyone about their experience while he was still alive. One day, Mary and Martha, Jesus' good friends, sent him a message that their brother Lazarus was sick. Jesus told his disciples that the sickness would not end in death, and he waited 2 more days before leaving to go to Bethany. When he arrived, Lazarus had been dead in the tomb for 4 days. Martha met Jesus when he entered the city, and they went to get Mary. Both sisters said, "Lord, if you had been here, our brother would not have died." They, along with many friends who had gathered, went to the tomb. Jesus, seeing their grief, wept in compassion for them. He told them to take away the stone at the opening of the cave, and when they did, Jesus called, "Lazarus, come out." And Lazarus came out, still wrapped as a mummy. Jesus had them to unwrap him and let him go. He was freed from death, literally. Many believed in Jesus after that day. This event foreshadowed Jesus' own death and resurrection, which was soon to happen.